Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 3 of the Starting Six podcast with your hosts, Haley and Liv. Today, we have a super exciting spring season game recap. Liv and I decided to take the jump and splurge a little bit on the Big Ten Plus app. We did not have this in previous years. However, with March Madness wrapping up and baseball and softball starting, it only makes sense that some of these spring season games, especially when they're being labeled as exhibition matches, are pushed onto the Big Plus app. So Big Ten games can be found there. A lot of other games are on ESPN Plus, which we also have because I have a Disney Plus account.
Yep.
So across all platforms, we totally understand it's not easy to watch your favorite teams. It's not even easy to watch sometimes any games because they're just not being streamed at this time. So we did a little extra effort in watching some games that we usually maybe wouldn't go out of our way to watch during spring season, and we're going to recap them a little bit today. And then we also have a little talk about Nebraska's beach program, and towards the end, we're going to touch a little bit on Athletes Unlimited, leading in to episode 4, where we are going to cover how Athletes Unlimited, which is the pro league for volleyball, works, how you score points, how you'll be able to watch, where they'll be playing, that kind of thing. So we're going to get into that a little bit next week and a little towards the end of the episode today. So Liv, how are you? How are you doing?
Good. Just grinding away with work and excited for the long weekend and the sun to finally be shining in Minnesota and the snow to stop. So
yes,
we're good. We're good.
Yes,
How are you doing?
I'm actually like, this is just funny to me, but we've done 3 episodes and I've been in a different location every time. Yeah. So the first one was in a bedroom in my apartment. The second was in the bathroom in my apartment due to lighting problems. And now I'm at my parents' house in Illinois. So new background unlocked here. Yes. So I don't know why I'm just like trying to find the best place to do these, but we're both in a new location, yes, our new background today. So that's fun.
We're figuring it out. It'll take some time. We're getting
there. It's very DIY right now. So
yeah, homemade.
All right, so getting right into today, first, Liv and I wanted to touch on yesterday was National Student Athlete Day. As student athletes and proud student athletes, we're happy to celebrate people who are still student athletes because we've been retired for a little bit of time now. Yep. And this podcast is talking all about student athletes. So shout out to them and all their hard work. We know firsthand how difficult being a student athlete really can be. So shout out to everybody who's doing that for the love of the game, especially at the D3 level, and for our entertainment at the D1 level.
Thank you.
Yes, shout out. So,
yeah.
All right, so we'll kick it off. We'll get right into some of these spring game recaps. So today we are recording on Friday, April 7th. And we haven't recorded in a little over a week. So some of these games are dated last week or the end of 2 weeks ago. So I'll kick it off here. I watched the Wisconsin Marquette game on March 31st. This game took place at Oconomowoc High School.
Yeah.
That's Oconomowoc. I know how to say that now. And my first note right off the bat is as soon as I got on the YouTube stream, it looked like a Wisconsin home game.
I know. I felt so bad for Marquette because it was just filled with red.
And Oconomowoc's closer to Marquette, correct?
It's a little bit closer to Marquette, yeah, but it's kind of like that halfway point between Madison and Milwaukee.
Okay. That makes sense. But I took a screenshot. I'll insert it in post for this, but I was like kind of laughing, and obviously you can only see one camera angle for a game like this. It was streamed probably like Oconomowoc High School games are streamed. Yeah. So it was just one camera angle kind of from the top of a bleacher, I would say. And so I could only see one side of the gym. However, it was red to that side of the gym, which not surprising at all. Wisconsin fans are like some of the best fans in volleyball. So I'm not surprised that people made the drive to see that, especially with the debut of a couple of new players for the Badgers. So I'm going to just run through a little bit of some of the lineup pretty loosely. Again, this is spring season, so take this with a grain of salt because a lot of the times in spring season, it's important to remember that coaches are working with who they have, whether that's injury, whether that's girls who they just want to get some more playing time, whether that's girls, it doesn't include the freshman class. It's girls who, have seen the court before, or they're giving them some rest. It's everything with a grain of salt. But for Wisconsin, straight out the bat, it was very similar to the lineup that they had been running in 2022. So you had Devin on the right side. Izzy Ashburn was setting. We had her name is Liz Gregozeski. It's Liz, right? Yeah, Liz. That's what I thought. I'm pretty sure I double checked that. So Liz was on the outside. A lot of people were asking questions about this. So Liz is transferring to Kansas State. Yep. For her 5th year. She was a Badger for 4 years. She didn't get a ton of playing time at Wisconsin. But they have her in the rotation for spring season as of right now. And then we had Julia Orzel, who was the other outside, who was part of the starting lineup the past 3 years. And then, oh my gosh, what's her first name? Guchtikin? What's her first name? Gigi.
I have no idea.
I don't know how to pronounce her name. She's Turkish, right? Turkish, yes. Is that what it is? We call her Guchtikin. She was in the libero spot, not surprising at all. Anna Smrek was the other right side. Jocelyn Byer is taking her 5th year for Wisconsin, and she was in it as the DS. And then we also had Gabby McCaw and Carter Booth making their debut for the Badgers as middle blockers. And then the other setter for Wisconsin, I didn't write her name down, and I can't remember off the top of my head. MJ Hamill, yes, in the leggings. That's just how I always think of her, in the leggings. And then so Wisconsin ran their 6-2 again, the same that they did last year. Their two notable players were not dressed. So Sarah Franklin is usually the other outside, opposite of Julia as of last year. Sarah was not dressed, and it wasn't confirmed why, but I would assume that it's because she had been doing a spring season with the USA national team. So in Kelly Sheffield's mind, she has already had basically a spring season, so it's not really worth risking her body to have another one. But it seems like she's attending practices, she's there, and there might be times that she's taking reps in practice, but at exhibition matches at this time of the year, Kelly Sheffield must have decided to sit Sarah, let her rest, give Liz some reps going into her final year as she transfers to Kansas State after semester. And then the other notable player for Wisconsin that was not in was middle blocker Caroline Crawford, who was on crutches. Caroline, for those of you who may remember her by this, she had broke her pinky finger towards the end of the 2022 season. So she was wearing a club on like these 2 or 3 fingers. I don't know how she was so successful playing with that on her hand. But she did it. So she broke it, she had surgery, and then she came back as soon as she could. She was on crutches, she wasn't in a boot, and she wasn't in a cast. So I think that's good news. From experience, if I had to take a guess, it might have something to do with shin splints, might be a slight ankle sprain. And they're trying to just do the best to keep her off of it. During the national anthem, I could see her, and she was on the crutches and both her feet were on the ground. So that gives me, kind of hope. The other thing I was thinking is it could be something with her back. I can't remember if she suffered anything with her back or not. I know she had a couple like injuries here or there last year. But a lot of the time you'll see players kind of doing that just to help support if something happened to their back, because she was standing on both of her feet. So that hasn't been confirmed why, but she was on the crutches. Heading into Marquette, just a couple notable players here. They had 2 players that were getting reps that were not from the US. I'm probably going to butcher these names, but please just ignore this. Yadhira Enchante, maybe. She was their setter, their 6'1" setter. She's out of Peru. I thought she ran the court well. I think that Marquette, from what I could tell after looking through their roster, is quite young. And so I think they had some girls who maybe hadn't played before. And it's difficult in spring season when you're doing these exhibition matches, and the first one out the gate is against a team like the Badgers that is basically looking like a Badger home game. If that was my first actual game in for Marquette, I also would have been a little bit nervous. We also had Ella Holmstrom. She was playing outside for Marquette a little bit. She's a Rockford volleyball alumni. Ella, I remember her so vividly when I was like, I would say it was my sophomore and my junior year and my senior year of club volleyball. My sophomore year, she was on the 12s or the 13s team, and I think they ended up at third at nationals. They were incredible. Like we would scrimmage against them.
Yeah.
And they were very good. Ella was a part of that team. She kept in touch a lot with my little sister. Really nice girl. So it was cool to see her in the rotation for Marquette. She's so tall. We had Carson Murray as a middle blocker, Hattie Bray as the other middle blocker. Adriana Studer was their libero. She was fantastic. I thought she did a really good job. The other foreign player for Marquette was Anastasia Svetnik. She was a middle blocker from Belarus. I could not point that out on a map. But we had Aubrey Hamilton was the other outside. And then Ella Foti, who was listed as a setter, but was playing on the pins. So it seemed definitely like Marquette was trying to figure out a little bit of a groove, trying to figure out where girls might fit. And I could imagine that it's a little bit tough having a foreign player in leadership positions like a libero or a setter.
Yeah.
I don't know these people, so not making any assumptions, but I can just imagine that's a big change. That can be a little bit hard for teams. But I thought Marquette looked really good in 2022. They were a Sweet 16 team, which I thought I think they played really great. We followed them a little bit in the tournament. And then just my last note was Jocelyn had switched into a libero jersey for set 3. For Wisconsin. So Wisconsin, I don't, like I said, take this with a grain of salt. I don't know if he's just rotating through the 3 DSs he has to see what's going to be the best fit. We saw a little bit of change in the libero jersey last year between Gigi and between Chanel. So that, it's something that has been done before. Gushtikin is only a sophomore. She's young still, so I can imagine that Kelly Sheffield's he's really just trying to fill some of these pieces that he lost, which isn't a lot. So that's good to see as Badger fans. And then for anybody who's interested, the Badgers swept. The first set was 25-17, set 2 25-13, set 3 25-14. So that was the Wisconsin Marquette game. Like I said, it looked like a Wisconsin home game, which I loved as a fan, but as a Marquette player, I would have been a little nervous for sure. A lot of fans there.
For sure. And I just want to mention, you said that it looked like Marquette was a lot of young players, and I personally knew quite a few of the Marquette players from club, being around that area, and a lot of them did graduate. So that was kind of tough to see some of those players, but also some familiar names coming back from Sting, Milwaukee Sting Club, playing for Marquette. So that was exciting to see. And I just want to mention, I am so excited to see Carter Booth play for Wisconsin because she was a blocking machine against Marquette. She had 8 blocks for her debut as a Badger. And she's huge. I didn't realize she's 6'7".
She's massive. She makes Devin Robinson look small, and Devin Robinson is like 6'2" or 6'3".
Yeah. Them two together on the middle and the right.
It's fantastic.
It's insane. I love it. I'm so excited. And also just to pin out that Devin Robinson had 10 kills on the night. So she was one of the high performers as well. So I'm really excited to see that matchup. And I think Carter Booth is going to be a great asset to Wisconsin, especially in the middle from losing Danielle Hart. So I was super excited to see her just pop off that first match. So.
Yeah, I agree. She looked fantastic. She looked composed. She looked like a leader. She's a 5th year, I believe. She's a 5th year. So it doesn't surprise me. She's got leadership. She's been waiting for this. And it is big shoes to fill. The blocking game for Wisconsin has been strong with Dana Recke, with Danielle Hart, with Devin Robinson. So to be able to add middle blockers who can do that, Caroline Crawford is a very strong block. She's a smaller player, but she's a very strong defensive player. So you can really see Kelly Sheffield trying to find the pieces to create a literal wall at the net. And that is how you win games. When you have blockers who can keep your best hitters on the other team from scoring, that is how you win games.
Yeah.
And you can really see Kelly Sheffield trying to piece that together. And as I mentioned in the last one, Temmie Thompson is only going to add to that front line.
Yeah.
And I think that it's going to be very similar commentary to what we've heard in the past, where teams going into the field house to play Wisconsin are trying to figure out, how do I get around this massive block?
Yeah.
Like, these are massive players that you're putting up, 6'7", 6'2", 6'4". I mean, you're putting up huge girls at the net. And so I really think that Kelly Sheffield's trying to piece together who's going to block great next to each other, who's going to get the job done, who can move quick across the net.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see that. She did a fantastic job. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see her in the starting lineup come fall.
No.
Yeah. Awesome. Love that. All right. Moving on, we had Northwestern at Purdue. I was very excited to tune into this game to see if Temmie was playing with Northwestern, and she is not. I did not see her dressed or not dressed. She was not there. Liv and I we don't really have all the answers. We've been kind of banging our heads around about how the spring season works for players who are finishing their undergrad and transferring, because Temmie had committed to play at Wisconsin in February. And it is per NCAA statute that if you're going to take your 5th year or your grad year, as they call it, you have to finish your undergrad as a senior. So she has to finish her undergrad at Northwestern before she can then transfer and be eligible to play for Wisconsin. But as we saw with Liz, who is transferring for her 5th year, so she's finishing up her undergrad at Wisconsin right now, she's playing with the Badgers. So this happened with a couple other teams. I think we were trying to kind of rack our head around how that works. And we don't have all the answers. So we'll keep looking into it a little bit. It could be a number of reasons. It could be it didn't go well when she said she was going to transfer. Maybe she doesn't have a good relationship with the staff. Maybe Temmie is getting training with privately. Like, you really don't know what's going on. However, I was bummed that I didn't get to watch her a little bit, just to keep that hype going for me, because I'm itching to see her. So Northwestern played at Purdue on Saturday, April 1st. Purdue looked great. Purdue is one of those teams that I love to watch, but they're just always a thorn in my side, because they have such a great regular season, and then as soon as they get to the postseason, it just crumbles quickly.
They fall apart.
But they looked great. I'm not surprised by that. Leading Purdue, you had Eva Hudson, who she was the 2022 Big Ten Freshman of the Year. She's an outside hitter for Purdue. She plays all the way around. She's a powerhouse.
Oh yeah.
She is insane. And one thing that I really noticed, and for her being a sophomore, she leads very well. So when she's on and she's hyped and you can see like all the energy coming off her, everyone around her is like also kind of getting pumped. So they're really going to rely on her to be a leader on the court this year. And she had a fantastic game. I thought she looked great. Allie Hornung, she's listed on the roster as an outside right side. She was playing DS for the other outside. Chloe Ciccone that's how I'm going to pronounce that. We had Maddie Schermerhorn as libero. I don't recognize that name. Megan Renner as the setter, who was great. They ran a 6-1. Their middle blockers were Raven Colvin and Lourdes Myers. I thought they looked very strong. They looked quick in the middle, which was important. And then on the right side, Kenna Wallard, who had a couple really big kills as well. So Purdue, not surprised by any means that they look good. Eva's going to be one of those girls who is the player that every team's talking about in film. When you have a power outside, it's really hard to stop them.
She's got some fire because
they're feeding her all the time. They're feeding her on balls, they're feeding her off balls, they're feeding her out of the back row. She just looked really, really strong. The other outside, Chloe, she served, so she was in the back row quite a bit as well. She's going to be a sophomore. She was a great back row attacker as well. which is great. That's a big part of a lot of teams' offense is being able to have another outlet.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising to see outsides getting back row reps as well. Northwestern looked quite small in numbers. So coaching and player-wise, they looked quite small compared to Purdue, who looked like a small army. Like when the camera was like panning, it was like Purdue looked like they literally had a small army, and then it would pan over and there was like 2 girls on Northwestern's bench, 2 or 3 coaches. I don't know what Northwestern's freshman class looks like, but I do know that they lost a few seniors, Temi included. So Northwestern had Catherine Randorf on the outside, Avery Hernandez was the other outside. Alexa Russo was the setter. Oh, Alexa's yelling at me. Hold on. Alexa, turn off. What the heck? Okay, excuse me. So the middle blockers were Leilani Dodson and Kennedy Hill. Libero was Ellie Stinson, who I thought she looked pretty strong. And then the other DS playing was Sienna Nordermeer, who also looked very strong. But yeah, I mean, Northwestern, they had 2 freshmen becoming sophomores on the outside. So
it's hard when
it's tricky.
Yeah, it's hard, especially when you have such a small team going into spring season against kind of like Marquette and Wisconsin, like then going against a team who basically has all of their players. And most of them are freshmen that you have on that small team. That's their first time seeing big competition sometimes. And it's just hard to get that groove and to feel like you're a team when you don't have those key players, or you're just kind of throwing people in positions that they don't normally play, but they can play. It's just kind of hard. And so it's hard, like as fans, to get a good read on how well Northwestern is going to be this year, knowing that they have a lot of incoming freshmen and all their players didn't play. So it's tough being that team that has such a small group of people, because we've been there on our own experience. And it's just hard to get that really good feel of how the season's going to be. And it can be tricky with that mindset going into season then, because you're like, I don't know. We played not very well in spring season. Kind of having that mindset going into fall can be hard. But I'm excited to see what Northwestern can do with their recruiting class. I think they're going to be a young team, but really spunky and have a lot of grit because of that. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those things when you can see you can physically see the difference between what is having a team that has a lot of upperclassmen and a lot of experience look like compared to a team that doesn't. And that's why a lot of the times when we're reiterating that these freshmen are doing these incredible things, because it really is amazing to see freshmen come out of high school and into the biggest league of volleyball. Like, this is really the biggest stage that volleyball offers right now. So when you're entering a conference, especially like the Big Ten, and you're putting these huge, you're playing in these huge gyms with all of these people who have been diehard fans for years, it's intimidating. So when you have freshmen like Eva Hudson, who's putting out there, she's winning Big Ten Freshman of the Year, she's winning Athlete of the Week, you can see her really pushing and really learning. It's incredible to see. When you have a team of all freshmen, it's very difficult to compete at this level. That's not to say that they're not going to figure it out. And I think, to your point, when you have a team of freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, and maybe a senior here or there, you do become a little bit of a scrappier team, because you have to then change your game from pass, set, kill to defense is really what it is. How do we defend against teams who have become seasoned, who have kind of become a well-oiled machine? How do we defend against them in order to then succeed on offense? So it's going to be interesting to see. I wouldn't rule Northwestern out by any means. Purdue was playing at home, so I think they really just came to play. That's another intimidation factor to me. The last note that I want to touch on is Purdue's setter, Megan Renner's 6'2". So that's huge. Tall setters are a big deal in this conference. So I wanted to touch on that. And then just some score updates for anyone. Set 1, or Purdue swept. Set 1 was 25-16. Northwestern had a huge comeback in set 1 to finish at 16. They were down by quite a bit. Purdue took set 2 25-16, and then set 3 25-15. It was still a good game. Like I said,
Yeah.
I was kind of drooling over Purdue. They looked
Mhm.
very, very well oiled.
Yeah.
And teams like that are fun to watch because
Hmm.
it's honestly like you're watching it in a movie. Like when they're so in sync and so on, it's exciting and it's fun to watch
Hmm.
because those girls put in the work. So super
Yeah.
exciting. I enjoyed the game. Yeah, I thought it was fun to watch Purdue again. They always come out so strong. So
Yeah.
we'll see. But Eva looked like a leader. I'm excited to continue to watch her this year.
Yeah.
So
For sure. For sure.
all right, what do you got for the second half?
Okay, so I have some notes on the Athletes Unlimited exhibition tour. So I'm gonna quickly recap their latest 3 matches that they played. So March 31st, they went to Louisville, had some of their the Athlete Unlimited players revisit their homes. A lot of the players were from Kentucky, which was interesting to see. So they were like legit back in their hometown,
Mm-hmm.
home state, and then some Louisville alumni, which was cool. And they played
Yeah.
5 sets. Athletes Unlimited won 3-2, which I'm surprised they got to 5 sets because not all of their exhibition games have taken it all the way to 5.
Yeah.
Some of them had like just stopped at 4. So it was cool to see that they got to play all 5. And it looked like they were separated, pros and Louisville, the whole time. I don't think they
Mm-hmm.
really mixed and matched, which was cool to see, which also means that Louisville had enough numbers to fill all of their spots and didn't need to recruit some of the pros
Mm-hmm.
onto their side. And I know we mentioned this player, Anna DeBeer, Louisville's outside all-around player, just a killer.
She's
She's
so good.
amazing. 18 kills against the pros.
Watching her jump is like one of the craziest things. She's not super tall.
No.
She gets up and her arm swing is so fast it's like you can't even
Mhm.
see it.
Yeah.
Like she's insane. I would recommend to anybody who's never watched Louisville to play to tune in to see her.
Yeah.
She is incredible. And
Mhm.
I really do think that she's kind of an inspiration for girls our height. I mean, she can't be
Mhm.
that much taller than us. Liv and I
No.
sit, you're like what would you say? Like
5'8".
5'8", and I'm 5'9"
Yeah.
on a good day with my shoes on. So to see players who aren't 6'5", 6'4", in playing on this stage, she was in the national championship last year. That's really awesome. But her arm swing is insane.
Yeah, she's fierce. I love watching her. She's got a lot of grit and power to her. So it was really cool to see. I mean, the pros put up a huge block, and watching some of the other teams, they struggled with it. So knowing that she got 18 kills on them was really impressive. And then another to note, a transfer. I'm not exactly sure where she transferred from, but, and I think you say this, Cardi Looper, she had 17 kills against them. She was an outside. But
On
overall,
Louisville?
yeah, on Louisville, excuse me, yeah. Um,
Wow.
they looked very strong. Louisville looked very strong and composed and controlled like they did last year. I still think they have a chip on their shoulder. Again, the year before they also had one from losing, what was it, like Final Four or something like that.
Excuse me.
So I think Louisville is going to come out strong again for another year. They're really exciting to see play, and they did have some big players graduate, but I think they are finding the people to fill those shoes. So they play on April 8th against Ohio State, Louisville versus Ohio State. So it'll be interesting to see, knowing that Ohio State doesn't have all of their key players. So I'm excited to watch that one. Next on their tour was against Minnesota. So Athletes Unlimited versus Minnesota, and that was on April 4th. That was a 4-set match. And in the beginning, so the first 2 sets, they kept Minnesota and the pros separate as best as they could. So Minnesota needed a middle blocker, so they took one of the pros and put them on Minnesota's side. But other than that, it was pretty much separated, and they went 1-1 on those. And then the last 2, then they combined all of the players, all of the athletes into 2 separate teams. So that was kind of cool to see. I read some articles about the experience of the Minnesota players, and one of their outside said it was just a really good education tool, really good learning experience to get to play against and play with the pros. Minnesota looked not going to lie, they looked all right. They looked
Mm-hmm.
a little lost, I thought, just because they were playing with one pro in the middle. New coach, not having all of their key players, like Kylie Murr, she's transferring from Ohio State. She wasn't playing, so they had a different libero. They ran they had their setter, and then they had some other players that weren't starters play. So I think they were kind of figuring out their groove, especially against the pros. It's hard to get past their block. It's hard to get past their defense. The pros libero, Morgan Hens, is just amazing. So I think they were struggling.
Insane.
Yeah.
Oh my
They were
goodness.
struggling to find the court, I think, a little bit on their hitters. They relied a lot on their outsides, which I'm not surprised about. Their two, Taylor Landfair and McKenna Wooker, are their two outsides that they relied heavily on, both front row and back row.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought the outsides did a really good job. Melanie Schaffmaster, setter, always great. She's a strong player. So she did well moving the ball around as best as she could with the players that they had. But again, they just seemed a little lost, I thought. But I think it'll all come together once they get all of their freshmen and all of their transfers in, and it's some more time with their new head coach.
Yeah, I thought Taylor Landfair looked very mature. I think you could see her reading the court very well. Taylor Landfair is a very tall player, very strong outside hitter, but she could kind of become one of the players who wants to get every kill be a massive kill. And I thought that she looked very mature in finding the court. She had quite a few tip kills, quite a few where she was kind of rotating over her shoulder to cut cross on balls that looked impossible to do so. So I just thought that she looked a little bit more mature. Taylor Landfair did lead the Big Ten in kills last year, so she's a definite threat for sure. So as you can see her adding the more mental side of seeing the court to her game, that's a fear that some of the teams in the Big Ten are going to have this year as they play her. She just feels like she's becoming just taking her game one more step. Like, we know she's a great hitter. We know she's a strong hitter. We know she'll put it down. So to see her then take it to the next level to come up with new ways to get those kills is scary. On the other side of the net, it's a little scary when you have a player who's not only physically there, but now mentally smart enough to complete that task. It's intimidating. But yeah, I also had, just to touch on that Minnesota libero who was playing, her name was Skylar Gray. They mentioned that it's her hometown. So she joined the team as a walk-on. So I thought that was really cool. Do I think she's going to stay in the jersey? Probably not with Kylie Murr coming in. However, I think she proved that she could be a part of the rotation as a DS, which they're going to need as they do run a 6-1 with Melanie Schaffmaster. So I just thought that was kind of cool. It's always cool to see those kind of hometown heroes. Obviously with everything with Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes women's basketball team, it's kind of cool to see that. I thought it was nice that they touched on it. So, but yeah, I thought I would agree with you. I thought Minnesota didn't look up to Minnesota standards, but the players that you would expect to be performing did.
Yeah, agreed. All right, and then the last one that I have on Athletes Unlimited Exhibition Tour was against Wisconsin on April 5th.
Loved it.
Couldn't get enough of it, honestly. They kept their team separate the whole time because Wisconsin had all of their players or enough players to fill the roles in all aspects. Sydney Hilly was back in the field house one last time. It made me tear up.
I have to touch on this while we're on the topic. I read an article, and this was on the Badger Extra. She said, I'm definitely excited. I guess that's the biggest emotion. Anytime I can go back to Madison, I feel that excitement. Now I get the opportunity. I never thought I would get another game at the field house. I'm so excited to show the girls on my team why I'm so proud of where I came from and why I'm so proud to be a Badger.
I just got the chills when you were reading that.
I loved her. I watched her post-game interview with Emily Eamon. If you love volleyball and don't follow Emily Eamon, you are missing out. She's fantastic. She does a great job on the sideline reporter. Her tweets, she's constantly tweeting stuff out. She's a big resource for us while we're doing this. She did her post-game interview with Sydney. Sydney received, as they announced starting lineup, she received a standing ovation from everyone in the field house. And she just talked about how it was so hard for her not to be emotional. She was just so proud. She loves it so much. and she said that it was just fun to joke around with her old teammates, and it was she said it was a real honor for her to show the other pros that this was where she came from, which is just so fantastic to have players who leave a program and speak about it that way. You just love to see it. I loved every second of it. I thought the standing ovation, I was like tears running down my face. I thought it was so good.
Yeah, it was also really cool that she got to do the press conference with Kelly Sheffield afterwards. Yeah. And Chanel also did the commentary if you were watching it. So that was kind of cool too, to see her being a alumni Badger getting to commentate on it, especially with her experience that she's had. So that was a big thing I want to touch on. Sydney Hilly was back. It was so exciting. They played 4 sets against the pros. The pros won 3-1. But Wisconsin looked strong. I mean, again, you already touched on some of their players that they're missing to the sideline, but overall they look strong. And so it's really exciting to see. Again, I have in all caps Carter Booth in the middle. She's played phenomenal.
So good. She's very good.
It just reiterated how excited I am to have her on Wisconsin's side, and with her and Devin Robinson up there, it's going to be amazing.
So good. My mom was so cute. She was texting me during both the Wisconsin spring games that we were able to watch, and she texted me and she said something along the lines of like, I didn't know it was possible, but Devin Robinson got even better.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, this house, we are Devin Robinson stands in this house. My mom is like her number one fan.
No.
The texts were so funny. She's like, she calls her DR because I don't think she wants to spell her name out, but she says DR got better, didn't know it was even possible or something. But I agree. She just looks, as she gets older, she becomes more mature, smarter, a leader. And her energy and like her confidence is just it's like addicting to watch.
Yeah, she is definitely one of their go-to players, and she kind of dabbled in both the middle and the right side during that match. But when she was on the right side, she was a go-to. Most of the time it's their outsides, people's outsides that are their go-to. But honestly, I think Wisconsin's is Devin Robinson. Wherever she is, she's her go-to. She can make it happen, whether it's a kill, a tip, a roll, whatever it is. She's very smart. And I also wanted to point out that I thought seeing Julia Orzel back in the field house, I thought she looked really comfortable. And you can see her also developing as a player. And as an upperclassman, she's getting a lot smarter with her tips and roll shots and things like that. It's not just kill, 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 big swing after the other. So that was exciting. And Liz Grigorski on the outside, she was on the outside again. She played well. I mean, like you said, she never really got the chance to see the court, but I thought she did a really good job with that huge block from the pros. She was using their hands, finding those roll shots and things like that. And it was also interesting to see that they had 2 liberos play. It was Gigi and Sydney Reed. And I just want to props to Sydney Reed because I thought she did a really good job. I haven't seen her play, and maybe a few times just as a DS. But
is she really young?
I think she might be a junior, but don't quote me on that.
I think you're right.
She really hasn't had a chance to play, and then to play against the pros being one of her first times as in the libero jersey, I thought she did a really good job. Her defense, her serve receive, as well as with Gigi, she also did a really good job. I thought their serve receive was pretty good, which helps our setters out a lot, which then helps her.
Oh, yeah, she's a junior.
Yeah. But I was not expecting that, to be honest, to see her in the libero jersey right away. But I thought she did a really good job. So I'm excited to see if they'll keep her in. And also Jocelyn Byer was playing back row. And I really like Jocelyn. I think she's a really well-rounded player and has a very good composure. So I like seeing her in the back row at times for the outsides.
It's nice to see that like leadership, again, having those seniors, those fifth years. You know, there's a reason that they're still around. There's a reason that coaches rely on them. So to see them having another senior, another fifth year, another upperclassman, another seasoned player be out there to kind of, because there were times when the past 2 years, I would say for Wisconsin, they became very rattled very fast, and having those older players there they kind of just calm everything down.
Yeah.
Devin Robinson now being one of those players, like when she's on the court, they just look more relaxed. They feel more relaxed. So to add Jocelyn to the mix as a fifth year, it wouldn't surprise me to see her out there more for that reason as well. Just another matured seasoned player to keep things like level almost, I would say.
Yeah, and one other player I wanted to note was Gabby. Is it
McCaw, I think maybe.
McCaw? I also thought she did a really good job. She was swinging out of the middle and had some really huge kills towards the end. So I was excited to see her play and just the camaraderie between everyone. It was just, you can feel the energy watching that match from the TV. And I was just like, I wish I was there. It looked so much fun.
It looked like they had a lot of fun. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And I mean, props to the pros. I mean, they are just phenomenal in all aspects. I can't believe they're still doing what they're doing at such a high level. And it's just kind of crazy to see, like, Badgers and all Big Ten is like the top of the top for volleyball. And then there's even a higher level, and that's the pros. And it's just kind of, I never thought it could get better than Big Ten volleyball in a way, but here we are, and there is a higher level of competition. And it's really just getting all of those huge key players onto one team, and they just can't mess up. Like, they just can't do anything wrong, and it's crazy.
It's wild to watch them, and it's funny to see them all. You can see that because they wear the tank tops, you can see the cups on their shoulders, the KT tape, and it's very true in the way that you would talk about NFL players. Volleyball is very hard on your body.
Yeah.
And so to see women who are married, are moms, playing still at this level is insane to me.
Yeah. I love it.
And I admire them because that could not be me.
Yeah, I love it. I love to see it. They're so strong and so fierce women. It's very inspiring in all aspects of life, not just in sports, but it's really cool to see them. And I've loved this exhibition tour for the pros because they get to go back to their alumni teams. They get to go back to their hometowns and just feel the love and the energy again. It's really cool to see the old and the new in a way. Get back to their roots and be proud of where they've come from, and to see players that they've played with before. It's really cool. And I'm really happy that they've done this, and I hope that they continue to do this exhibition tour throughout the years.
Good competition for teams too, like to play and to learn from players at this level. Like, you're talking, the pros are teams of all Americans, like all region players, national championship players. Like, you're talking like top of the line. So it's cool to see when they do mix. As much as for a viewer, it's not as exciting, but when they do mix, to kind of remind yourself that they're learning, they're getting cues, they're watching. It's really good for them, especially like in spring season, because it is all about learning. That's what you're doing. You're learning, you're preparing, you're, staying consistent. And so it's a cool opportunity. I liked watching the games. I thought it was fun. I'm excited to watch the pros play against each other.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
And just a shout out to all the teams that played against the pros, because, I mean, if I was a player playing against them, I probably would have pooped my pants the moment I stepped on the court. Like, their composure in all of it, like, you couldn't tell that they were scared or threatened by them at all. They just went out and played and had a good time. But I know that would not have been me if I was playing against them, because they're half my size. Like,
I would have been so starstruck and been like, oh my God, I've watched some of you play since I was like a little kid.
Yeah. That would be like a dream come true, but I know I would probably pee myself.
Yeah, I would agree. I would be very nervous.
Yeah. But yeah.
So in other news on spring season, Nebraska has been playing on the beach. So Nebraska's a volleyball school, man. They really are. Nebraska has a beach program that was founded in 2013. This year, their beach team finished with a 15-5 record, which is the most wins in program history since 2019, and the total wins that year was 12. 10 of the Huskers' 15 wins were sweeps.
Yep.
I don't think there was an opportunity to watch a lot of these beach games, which is so unfortunate, because USC is like the beach team.
Yeah.
Like those the like Western like teams are insane. Like California has some big teams. The Huskers were just out in California recently as they finished up their season. I would have loved to see it. I love beach volleyball. Beach volleyball, I feel like, has such a good platform from the Olympics. Like, to grow up watching like Misty May and Carrie Walsh, like the definition of beach players. I would have loved to have more opportunities to have watched these games. I don't know how streaming works for these, but they have a full season. Like, for a lot of these teams, this is their season, is beach volleyball, not court volleyball. So it was cool to see that. Some of the players here that I can see that were teamed up, you had Allie Batenhorst and Bergen Riley, Becca Alec and Lexi Rodriguez, Merritt Beeson, Harper Murray. A lot of these girls I'm not recognizing. Lainey Choboy and Lindsay Krause, recognize that one. So kind of cool to see. Like, I would have loved to see the dynamic between the two of them. On the list of players mentioned, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sophomores and 1, 2, 3, 4 freshmen.
Wow.
Including Lexi Rodriguez is a sophomore, Lindsay Krause is a sophomore, Allie Batenhorst is a sophomore. These are girls who have been starters for the court season. And then just shout out to Hayden Kubik, who's Maddie Kubik's younger sister, 6'2", sophomore. It's cool to see. This is the next generation of Nebraska volleyball. But the beach season, I think that they do is really cool, especially being a Midwest team-ish, Nebraska. To be able to have a beach season is super cool. Obviously, you could never do that here where we live, but yeah, super cool to see. I wish I would have been able to watch a couple more games. But yeah, super cool. That's a really good season, 15-5 final record. After the top was 12. So pretty cool.
Yeah, and just shout out to Nebraska volleyball for doing this. Like you said, it's more of a Midwestern state, so they don't necessarily have the easy access to a beach, so they have to play indoor beach. But the benefits that playing beach has correlated onto the court is huge. Like, this is why Nebraska is a volleyball school and why they're always so good and so controlled and composed and dominating, because they have these skills that they've used in beach and have brought it to the court. You know, you're forced to play everything when you play beach. There's only 2 of you. You have to do everything and you have to be good at it. You become a more well-rounded player, and you have better knowledge of the court. You're able to read the ball better because there's only 2 of you. Your ball control is way better because, especially when you're playing outside, you can't predict the weather. You don't know what's going to happen. The sun, the rain, the wind, it's all a factor. So having really good ball control is really important, which then correlates to on the court. And that's why Nebraska's serve receive is always so strong and so dominant, because they have that experience. And, you know, just increasing their knowledge and increasing their speed and agility. It is so hard to play beach. It's so hard to jump, to move in any direction. It is so hard. So getting good at that correlates so well on the court in indoor, and it's so smart. Like, I wish more teams had the opportunity to do this, because I think it could increase the competition level throughout all levels. But I mean, good for Nebraska for doing this, because it just gives them one leg higher on all the other teams, because it does, especially since those are all underclassmen that are having this training. Like, just think of them when they're seniors. They're now going to be playing beach for 3-4 seasons, and then putting that onto the court. They're just going to be so strong and so dominant and so controlled. It's going to be really good for them.
Yeah, I mean, the Huskers are going through a bit of a change, but they're just a powerhouse of a school. Their fan base is insane. Their home game energy is insane. I definitely think they're going to be a top contender, especially in the Big Ten Conference and definitely in the postseason. And like I said, I mean, you have girls who are sophomores this year, going to be juniors, who have been playing for the past 2 years. And so you're kind of taking those younger players, becoming seasoned players, like we've been talking about. Nebraska is always going to be a powerhouse, and I agree. The way, like, when you play beach, and then you get on a court next, and you feel like when you're on the court, you're like, I've never jumped so high in my life, because on the beach, you're like getting like this far off the ground, if you're me anyway. So, super cool to see. The other thing I love about beach is that they only play to 21. There's just something about that I like better than 25. But yeah, I would have loved to been able to watch these a little bit more, whether that was my fault or just the way that the streaming works. I'm not sure. I wouldn't say I made like a super big effort. But I do kind of wish I would have a little bit. Just love beach. It's just fun. Teams too, like and the California teams that you don't get to see too much during like the court season just dominate the beach season. So it's pretty cool to see it. It's definitely interesting. I wish this is something we would have been able to do. It would have been so cool, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
I would have loved it. So much fun.
Yeah.
All right, to wrap up, you want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff we're looking forward to with the Athletes Unlimited, and then what they can look forward to next episode.
Yeah, so just a little bit about Athletes Unlimited. So that's the USA pro team. So there are pro teams over in Europe, but this is the first pro team in the United States, and they do things a little bit differently than you would expect. So they were formed in 2021, and so this is their third season, and it's pros that have signed and agreed to play solely in the States. And so it's this big group of ex-alumni college players, I should say, that they're all in one big group, and then they have a draft every week. So it's kind of like kickball in middle school, where you have this big group of kids, and then there's two captains, and they get to pick who's on their team. It's essentially the same thing, but there's rules with who the captains are, how you pick your teams, and things like that. There's more than just two. I think there's 4 teams per week, and so that changes. And so it's kind of cool. It all depends on the points you get, and it's all individual on an individual basis. So when you play, you get points for kills, digs, blocks, things like that for winning the match. And then it all kind of goes into a leaderboard. So it's really cool on how they do things, and it's really different and something new that I've never seen. So like I said, this is their third season, or they're going into their third season this fall. And so next episode, we'll kind of break that down a little bit more into how the points are tallied, how the draft or splitting up of the teams goes, and kind of getting more into that. But I just wanted to note that there was the draft a few weeks ago. So they drafted 6 new players, or players from college, from D1, that will be getting the chance to play in October. So that's when their season starts, is in October. And so those draft players like Danielle Hart will be getting to play at that time. So right now, their next stop on their tour, on their exhibition tour, is April 8th. And this is a little bit different. They're not playing a team per se, a Big Ten team or a D1 team. They are going to the Windy City Qualifier in Chicago. So that's a big youth tournament. If people haven't heard about it, Haley can give light to that a little bit.
I played in the Windy City League my 7th grade or 8th grade through my junior year of high school club volleyball. I'm seeing some of my Rockford volleyball girls tonight, just giving them a huge shout out. We did pretty damn good. This is a very competitive league of club teams. This is a huge deal. You have to win a bid to nationals. You don't get to just go. It's a huge deal. These tournaments are big. So it's exciting to see the Windy City League get some recognition from a platform as big as Athletes Unlimited. So jealous. I want to go so bad. I wish I was playing in this. But yeah, super cool. I loved the Windy City League. It definitely made me the player that I ended up being. It's so competitive, so good. And you have to win it out. Like, you have to get a bid. You have to earn it. Which is a huge deal in clubs. So again, shout out to my Rockford girls, because we killed it in the Windy City League. They're fantastic. But yeah, super cool to see that. I'm so upset, especially being home this weekend in Illinois. I'm so close to it, but I will not be attending. However, super cool for those girls. It's exciting.
Yeah, so the Athletes Unlimited are going to be visiting the Windy City Qualifier, so the youth tournament, and then at the end they're going to be all coming together and splitting into 2 teams and doing a head-to-head exhibition match for all the youth players and the youth teams that are going to be there.
It's so cool, because they always, at these tournaments, now I'm just like reminiscing, they always have like a big court, like a championship court. And I have a couple pictures, maybe I'll put them in here because I still have them, of when my team got to play on them. So it's cool. They have like the big bleachers. You kind of have more of a like sound system, and it's right in the middle of the convention hall. So I'm sure there's going to be a way to stream. I would definitely look into it if you're interested. I'm sure there'll be a way to stream it.
Yeah, so that's coming up next for Athletes Unlimited. And then on April 12th, they will be playing Texas at the University of Texas, and that can be streamed on the Longhorn Network. I don't know how to get to that, or if you have to pay or anything. And And then they will be playing on the 13th. They'll be playing Baylor University, but that is not broadcasted. So they'll be in Texas, and then they will be doing another youth tournament qualifier in Philadelphia, the Northeast qualifier. So they will be going to that on April 15th to kind of do another head-to-head exhibition for some youth teams. And then they will be finishing up in April 19th against Howard University, and then their final match will be April 21st against Penn State, and that will be streamed on the Big Ten Plus. So that's going to be a big one. You know, we've been talking about Penn State being this coming back, kind of rising from the ground up. So it'll be really, really exciting to see if all of those transfers are going to be playing for Penn State against them, or if not. So it'll be really cool to see. But their season, their exhibition tour ends April 21st, and then their season picks up in October. So we'll kind of be hitting a little bit more on how that all works next episode.
Yeah, we can talk a bit about how you're going to be able to stream these games. If there's platforms that you're willing to invest in a little bit that you might have to, be sure to follow them on social media, because I'm sure that they put all of that stuff out too. So join us next week. We're going to cover Athletes Unlimited. We're going to dive deep into how it works, previous winners, who's in this league, where did they come from, the whole thing, so you get a better understanding as well, because this is a huge deal for volleyball. So we'll take a break from some of the college stuff. Might have a couple games we want to touch on in terms of college, but next week's gonna be all about AU.
Hey.
So thanks again. Thanks for joining us. Again, social channels are coming so soon, so be on the lookout for those. And make sure to subscribe. It means a lot to us. And thank you to everybody who's been watching. We love you.
Thanks.